storming the Scif uninvited. Joining me now is California Democratic Congressman Ted Lieu, who sits on the Foreign Affairs and Judiciary Committees. He's been present for much of the testimony in this impeachment inquiry. Congressman, thanks so much for joining us. What do you think Republicans are trying to do?
Thank you, Katie, for your question. It is no coincidence that Republicans stormed this secure facility to stop witness interviews literally the day after Ambassador Bill Taylor's devastating opening statement that indicted Donald Trump in a quid pro quo. They don't want to hear from DOD official Laura Cooper today because she's going to corroborate parts of that devastating testimony. That's why they're acting out. That's why they're acting like children.
So what holes are you trying to fill now? You had Bill Taylor yesterday talking about OMB. He was talking about John Bolton. He was talking about conversations he had with Gordon Sondland. Who are you going to call in? What are you going to subpoena in order to fill some holes that Bill Taylor opened up?
All right, so Bill Taylor in his opening statement very clearly said a number of instances that the military aid, as well as the meeting between the Ukrainian leader and Donald Trump, was conditioned on the Ukrainian leader investigating the Bidens, investigating the Democratic National Committee, and that he had to announce it publicly. Laura Cooper today is going to testify that she knew about parts of what Bill Taylor talked about. In addition, one of the fundamental elements of U.S. foreign policy is pushing back against Russian aggression. Ukraine is at the tip of the spear, and the DOD did, within 24 hours of being notified this aid was withheld, an analysis that showed this aid was critical and necessary. Laura Cooper was involved in that analysis.
Are you going to be subpoenaing anybody from OMB? Are you going to be subpoenaing Mick Mulvaney? Because Bill Taylor also said that on a video chat while he was in Ukraine and video chatting back here at home, there was an OMB official who said off camera that they were told not to release the aid and that demand, that directive, went from the president to the chief of staff to OMB.
I'm glad you brought up Mick Mulvaney. The other thing that Bill Taylor's opening statement showed is that Mick Mulvaney was telling the truth during his press conference when he said there was a quid pro quo between Ukrainians and Donald Trump, and for us to get over it. In terms of subpoenas, I think we want to see if people come in voluntarily. If not, I wouldn't be surprised if subpoenas went out.
Who do you want to see?
To see anyone who can talk more about the quid pro quo that Ambassador Bill Taylor laid out that's been put in a summarized call transcript that the White House released, as well as the text messages Ambassador Volker put out. There's already a huge amount of very damning evidence against the president. At some point, we're going to conclude this investigation and then move to public hearings, just like they did in Watergate.
Well, let me ask that. When do you expect that to happen, and who is going to be called publicly? Do you expect Bill Taylor to be called publicly?
I would not be surprised if he was. He was an amazing witness. You could hear a pin drop when he testified yesterday. There were some gasps in the room when he said some of the things that he said. And it was very clear that he's a stand-up guy who graduated from West Point and served in Vietnam with the 101st Airborne.
When do you think those public hearings will be held?
I think it would have to be before the end of the year. I think it makes less sense if it would happen next year.
Are we going to see an impeachment vote on the floor of the House before the end of the year?
That is, if we're going to go down that path, I think we have to do something before the end of the year. Yes.
And do you expect any of your Republican colleagues to vote with Democrats, or is this going to be a party line vote? If it is it worth it?
If Republicans put country above party, then you would expect a large number of them to. Some of them have been saying, well, there was no quid pro quo. Ambassador Bill Taylor pretty much drove a stake through that defense. And now you see Republicans acting like children. They're acting out because they have no other move left. They're basically trying to stop these witness depositions from happening.
Congressman Ted Lieu, Congressman, thank you very much. A note to our viewers, every day we invite Republicans